So in this video, I'm going to go through 4 points. The first 2 are shoulder mobility screening tests. So I do a lot of shoulder mobility screening with my clients because it's really important. Obviously, pull is a little bit brutal on our shoulders, so it's really important that you've got the shoulder mobility to be able to achieve some of the movements that we use in pull actively. And if you don't have that shoulder mobility there, then that's something I would work on first before even starting to condition for the exercises. So these 2 screening tests that I'm going to show you are just 2 of many, and the 2 that I think are probably most relevant to the twisted grip handspring. The first one is to do with overhead shoulder mobility. So this, in relation to the twisted grip handspring, applies most to the bottom arm. So when you're into your Aisha position, your bottom arm is overhead. If you read the first part of the blog post, you'll understand that bit. So you kind of end up in, it's almost like a down dog position. So if you imagine that I'm on the pole, in an Aisha position, you would have, your bottom hand would be on the pole, and you're aiming for a straight line from your shoulder all the way to your hips and to your hand, and then obviously your other arm is pulling on the pole. So it's this sort of position. So you want to be able to achieve that position and that alignment, and if you can't get into that position off the pole, then you probably shouldn't try and do it upside down on the pole. The test that we're going to do for this is against the wall. If you've got either a dowel, like a piece of dowel, or a broom handle or something like that, or even a strap, it's helpful for this exercise. I don't have either of those with me today, so I've got a little mini band which you'll get the idea. So you're going to come against the wall, keep the knees bent. If you have them straight, sometimes people tend to cheat in this exercise and arch the lower back, so having the knees bent just helps to prevent that from happening. So you want your back fully against the wall, arms out in front. The purpose of the band is just to keep your arms in line with your shoulders, okay? So if you've got hold of a wooden dowel or a yoga strap or something like that, it's just so that you're keeping your arms here. Sometimes people cheat and take their arms wider, and you can reach a lot further with the arms wider than directly in line with the shoulders. So that's what that's for. So come against the wall, back fully against the wall, knees tucked, arms straight out. And then from here, all you're going to do is, without arching the back, keeping the core engaged, lift the arms up towards the wall. So you should be able to ideally reach the wall so that your arm, so you've got a 180-degree line from your hips to your shoulders to your hands. If you can only get to like this point here, then I would suggest working a little bit on your overhead shoulder mobility before you start to condition for twisted grip handspring, because you need to be able to reach that position in the Aisha. If you can't get there actively, what's going to happen is you're either going to force your shoulder into that position when you're up the pole, because obviously you've got gravity and you've got the weight of your body pushing against it, so you might be able to push your arm into that position, but you're basically pushing it into a position where it's not used to being. It has no strength there because it can't get there naturally. So that's either going to happen, or it's going to restrict your ability to balance in the top position, and it's going to throw you off. So work on your overhead mobility first. The way that I normally approach that with my clients is to do some form of mobility work. I do a lot of foam rolling for the muscles that are usually tight and restrict that movement. So that would be your lats, pecs, thoracic, spine, mobility rolling, and follow that up with some exercises working in the new range of motion that you've opened up with that mobility work. So a good one is to come into a child's pose and to do arm lifts off the floor, like this sort of thing. I have a few different exercises for those, so I'll put all of the details into the blog post.